Hey, moms, ladies, I'm excited to just be able to speak with you today about a really important issue that I think is just increasingly important for us as parents, and especially you as mothers of little children in the 21st century. There really isn't a path that we can look to say, hey, how do you raise a kid in the technology age? We haven't seen it before. You're raising some of the first generations of kids who have a touchscreen device that they can use, and they can have the game systems and the smart TVs and Netflix and all these things. You're the first generation of parents to really deal with this, and it's just so important that we talk about this. I'm Pastor Phil. I'm the family pastor at Berean Baptist Church, and I really hope to encourage you today. I hope to challenge you to be hopefully what God has called you to be as moms in the 21st century. And I just hope that as a result of these few minutes together, that as groups of moms, that you can support one another, hopefully give each other ideas of how to be more effective about discipling your children and really keeping them safe from sin, from the things in the world that hopefully they can avoid, but also keeping them safe from the sin in their own hearts and pointing them to Jesus. There's an ancient Greek story or mythology about, a person named Prometheus. Prometheus. There we go. I got it right. Prometheus. And he stole fire from heaven from the king of the gods, Zeus. You've probably heard of Zeus. And Zeus, in return, to kind of pay back Prometheus for this evil, he sends Prometheus's brother a gift, a woman as a wife, a gift named Pandora. And Pandora brought with her a box, or really in the original story, it was probably something more like a jar. And she brought that with her and assumed, this is part of the gift. There's probably something great in it. And obviously this gift of Pandora is received. But upon arriving there, Pandora opens the box. And out of the box comes sickness and death and all kinds of evil that spread throughout all of the world and caused damage everywhere. And from this, we kind of get this idea of Pandora's Box, which I don't know if you've heard. Like, man, you really opened up Pandora's Box with that. It's this idea of an idiom for something that seems like a present that's valuable, but in reality, it's a curse. And technology is really like this. Technology is like a Pandora's box because it brings so many good things into our lives. I love that I can check to see who's at my door from my phone, or I could adjust the temperature in my home from the couch, don't have to get up, or be able to just text my parents who live hours away on a whim, or let my wife know how my day is going at work without even a thought. Those things weren't possible before technology. And so technology has given us a lot of amazing gifts, but it also is a Pandora's box because with those gifts and those opportunities come some real evil. And God has called us as parents to really help protect our children from some of that evil. And the first thing I want to kind of just share and state, and I think you already know it to be true, but I don't know if you know to this extent, but technology is dangerous. It's dangerous for a lot of reasons. It occupies an enormous amount of time, especially with children and young people. When some research was done just in the last few years of the time spent doing different things a week, and screen time beat everything else. Screen time was, the average kid spent almost 19 hours on screen-based play, whether that be social media or playing video games, 19 hours. The next highest was about 14 or 15 hours of just indoor play, whether that be Legos or just hanging out. So it beat all other play, more screen time than any other category. Outside play, on average, was 10 hours a week. So almost twice the time that kids spend outside, they spend on screens, on average, in our culture. 9 or 10 hours of time with adults. Doing sports or activities is about 5 hours. You think of all the sports that we do with our kids, that's still only about a quarter of all the time that the average kid spends on a screen. And so they have an enormous amount of time that our young people are spending, our kids are spending on screens. They also have, because of that, unlimited or often unlimited exposure to what they've seen. And even children, when surveyed, 75% of parents would say that their kids have never seen explicit content or pornography online. But when kids are asked, so 75% of parents would say, no, my kids have never seen anything. But over half of kids would say that they have seen things that are explicit. By age 18, 93% of boys say that they have seen pornography online. And that's over 60% for girls as well. Almost half of teenagers say now that sending sexual or nudity pictures via text is part of everyday life for teenagers now. Almost half would say that. It's a crazy world we live in. So we have this huge amount of use of the screen time, technology, and then you have now what seems to be spreading is the use of technology to view some really horrible things, and that's just in that case, things of a sexual nature. But we know too that technology, whether or not you bring in some of the things like pornography and sexting, technology is addictive just because it's designed to be addictive, whether it be gaming. And I know some of you fight this battle with your children where they just want to finish the game. Let me just finish. And that causes anger, and it causes just arguing and just, addiction to the screens or to the video games or to even social media and connecting, needing to be in the know. I don't know if you've heard FOMO, fear of missing out. Kids experience that. I gotta be part of what the newest trend is on TikTok, the newest hashtag, the newest thing that's going on. Look, all my friends are over here. Why am I not there? Fear of missing out. And technology causes all of this anxiety. I don't know if you knew this, but suicides amongst teenagers has gone up 50% since the advent of the iPhone. 50% more teenagers have taken their own life since the iPhone. You think social media, we think, oh, it's so great, we can stay connected. But in what I'm seeing, especially as a family pastor who works with students and kids, teenagers especially, technology isolates us so often. You're in a crowd of people, you're maybe with 5 of your friends, but all of you are on your phone and you're actually alone. You might have a form of connectivity, but you're not really connected. And so it's brought addiction, it's brought, so this Pandora's box of technology, though I'm not an anti-technology person, I'm actually filming this on my iPhone, right? But we need to help our children build healthy structures where they are not allowing technology to abuse them, but they're using technology for things that really please the Lord and actually help bring value to their life. If you haven't watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, watch it. It shows how apps and technology is designed to be addictive. Because the more scrolls, the more swipes, the more clicks, the more money these people are making. Because they're learning, you are the product being sold. You're what you want to desire, what you're interested in purchasing, you are the product being sold, and your children are too. And so know that in the nature of the technology world that we live in, people are out there trying to abuse the weaknesses of your children in a plethora of ways. And it's not that every one of those ways is evil, but by nature it's going to be addictive. And so we have to help our kids deal with this. And so what I want to challenge you in a few ways, as parents, as moms of kids who are being raised in this technology world, I want to tell you, first of all, that God has called you to parent your kids, to raise up your kids, to parent them intentionally. The Bible says in Ephesians 6:4 to raise up your children in the nurture and instruction of the Lord. Okay, God has called you. God has called you as a parent to raise up your children and be intentional about protecting them, to teach them. It's not your job just to find the path of least resistance, to say, oh, well, it's kind of hard to enforce how much screen time my kids have. Parenting is hard, but this is your calling. In this season of life, you are the parent, they are the child. God has called you to raise them up, and sometimes that requires discipline, but God has called you to be the authority. Deuteronomy 6, God commands us to love the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength. That's the target, is to raise up someone who loves God above everything else. including these things that really cry these for our affections, right, and our desires. We're to love him with all our heart. And then it says, these words or commands that I'm going to teach you, I want them on your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children. When you shall talk about them in your house, when you sit down, when you walk, day in, day out, are you instructing your children? Think about it this way. Who has a bigger voice into the heart and the mind of your children? Is it technology and social media and games, or is it you? God has called you to be the primary voice that disciples your children. And my fear is that many of our children are being discipled by other things or other people, celebrities, their friends, or just technology, some app. They're learning about the world through technology, through YouTube and Google, and not through you. God has called you to instruct your children. You are the parent, and you need to take responsibility. We need to take responsibility for the environments that our children are in, and that includes the digital environments. What environments are your children allowed to be in? Who are they allowed to talk to? Just like you wouldn't let certain maybe kids come over, your friends, your children bring certain friends over. Do you monitor digitally who your kids are hanging out with, who they're listening to? Just like you choose a little bit, maybe what school your child goes to or what classes they're in, or if you hear that a teacher has a certain influence, maybe you speak up about that and you write the school and say, hey, what's up with this? Do you have that same aggressive tenacity with the environments that your children are being exposed to online? You are the parent. What games are your kids playing? Is it something that's helping them and building into them? What access do they have? Who are they texting and chatting with? Who do they follow on social media when they get to that age, maybe where you allow them to have it? What ads come up on the games that you let your kids play? All these things. You are the parent. You're responsible. God has called you to take responsibility for this. So first of all, God has called you as a parent to raise up your children. You're the one to do it. It's not the government's job. It's not your school teacher's job. It's not your parents' job. It's you, the mom and the dad, are called to raise up and take responsibility for the raising of your children. Okay, secondly, you're called to teach your children about healthy sexuality. I think a lot of times, especially followers of Jesus, maybe they think, they raise their kids to think that sex is a bad word. And obviously that might not be the word you use. And there's at different ages, you might talk about sex differently or more ambiguously, right? But God has called us to teach our children healthy things about sexuality, knowing that their body is a gift from the Lord. It's not something they should be ashamed of, but it's something they should modestly keep to themselves. It's theirs. It's their body. And so other people shouldn't violate their body, and other people shouldn't violate by taking pictures of it and put it online, or they shouldn't be violating other people's bodies by looking at them. It's something that God has given you as a gift, right? And the Maker knows best how to use your body and how to protect your body. Intimacy, physical intimacy, or as kids get older, you say sexual intimacy, is a gift from the Lord. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be celebrated, but it's a gift that's meant to be enjoyed in marriage. In marriage. We know if we're teaching our kids healthy sexuality that every person ever born is a sinner. That we're broken in our sin, and that includes sexually. We are broken. We have propensities, desires that don't honor God. And so you need to teach your children that sometimes you're going to want something that is wrong. Just like you might want to take something that's not yours. In the same way, you're going to have desires that are not those that honor God. And so you need to teach your children that sin is the problem. You need to teach your children that confession of sin is healthy. It's good to share and to expose when you have desires that are sinful and against God's way. And there's a spiritual battle. And I have some different books that I'd recommend. I'll put that in the description below about teaching your kids about their body, what a good picture is, what a bad picture is. Resources that help them deal with some of these battles in the mind and for sexual purity as they age. But we need to teach our kids, not avoid these issues or shove them under the pillow like they don't exist, but we need to talk about them in age-appropriate ways with our children. That is our calling. You're called to raise up your children. You are the authority, and you're called to teach about healthy sexuality. Thirdly, you're called to establish boundaries. You are the one and the authority who should be doing that. I love Joshua 24. He commands the people, he says, hey, choose this day whom you will serve. But here's the deal. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Is that the cry of your heart for your family as a mom, as parents in your home? Do you say, we will serve the Lord? And so it's your job to establish boundaries. So some advice I'd give with that, don't trust your kids with unlimited freedom. Don't trust your kids with unlimited freedom. Would you have on your bookshelf an area, a stack full of pornographic magazines? Would you have that in your house? Then why would you have unfiltered internet access with your children who can take the device anywhere in the home in privacy, whether you're home or not, where they can access anything and everything? It's worse than those magazines because it provides unlimited gratification for some of their sinful desires if they were to stumble upon it. And it might not even be on purpose. It might be accidentally. You need to have some safeguards, some filtering technology, some ability to see what's been viewed. Don't give unlimited access. Enforce accountability. Hold them accountable for what they're doing. Something along those lines is every screen in your device, especially those that I think, if you're a parent, every screen, everything in the home really belongs to you at the end of the day. You're the parent. You're the authority. But especially technology that accesses the internet, including a lot of game systems, you own that. Don't ever mess with the idea that, this is their game system or this is their phone. No, it is yours and you let them use it. And so that gives you the authority to establish boundaries with it. Enforce screen time. There should be you should have a conversation with you and your spouse and the child and decide what's healthy. What is a healthy amount? What other priorities need to be before screen time? And you need to enforce that. You are the parent. You need to decide that. You need to set those boundaries and enforce them. I encourage you to have times in your home and in your family where there is no screens allowed. I would say dinner time is a great time for that. No phones at the table. And that includes you parents. That includes you mom and dad, right? I want you to engage with your kids and have real face-to-face conversation. Teach your children, raise them up to realize people are more important than screens. People are more important than screens. Do a family movie or game night. And don't all be having a movie on with a different device in front of you. Watch the movie and enjoy it together. Put the phones in a basket, get them out of there, and be together. I'd encourage you to not let your children have private use of technology. Sin thrives in secret. And if your kids start texting the wrong people or the wrong people start texting them, don't allow them to have passcodes on things that you cannot access. Okay, if they lock you out of things, it goes in the garbage can. It communicates that there's something they're trying to hide. You need to have an open door policy. Don't let them in the bathroom alone with their phone. Don't leave them at home without having the proper, boundaries in place with the filters and stuff. Don't do that. Assume the worst. I tell you what, as a pastor who's worked with students, almost every, especially young man, deals with this on some level. Assume that this is a struggle. You take responsibility for helping them and communicating about it to help them live in such a way that pleases the Lord. And encourage open communication about that. If if your child opens up about struggling with something or seeing something, don't hit them with the hammer. Ask them questions and try to help them understand the reasons why some of those things could be harmful, why communicating with a stranger online could be dangerous, and share stories that, would help them have a healthy fear of some of the evil that's out there. Talk to them about the addictive nature and the power that sex has, and that God made that. Not to be condemned, but to be celebrated. That same power is supposed to keep a husband and a wife together for life. Sex is to be celebrated in marriage, and God made us as sexual beings. And so teach healthy sexuality. Just to reiterate, you are called as a parent. You are called as the parent. Own that responsibility. You're called to teach them about healthy sexuality. And God has given you, no one else, you the responsibility to set up healthy boundaries for your children. Again, we'll have some links below in the description for some resources that will help you maybe doing this. And I encourage you to get together with some other moms or parents and talk about, hey, what's working for you? How are you helping raise up your kids in a healthy way in the 21st century? So thanks for listening. I hope it was helpful, and have a great week.